The knock that changed everything. Jack Reynolds was just a man looking for a quiet morning. After weeks of hauling scrap across dry alien roads, he had finally reached a small, forgotten motel on the edge of Zephyria 5, a planet that looked like a mix between a red desert and a junkyard. The motel was cheap, the bed was lumpy, but it had hot water, and that was all Jack really cared about. The sun had barely risen. Jack rubbed his eyes and stretched, walking toward the tiny table in the corner of the room. He was about to boil water for instant coffee when his stomach growled. "Breakfast first," he muttered. He didn't expect much from the vending machine outside, but maybe he'd get lucky. Maybe some sealed bread or synthetic bacon. As he reached for the door, his hand froze. Knock, knock. It wasn't loud. It was soft, hesitant, like someone scared to be heard. Jack blinked. This planet was supposed to be quiet. The only guests last night were cargo runners who'd left before sunrise. He opened the door, and there she was, an alien girl, barefoot, shivering, her silver skin glowing faintly under the rising sun. Her long white hair clung to her face, wet, with sweat or maybe tears. Her robe was torn at the side, and one arm clutched her ribs like something was broken inside. She looked at Jack with wide violet eyes. Her lips moved, but the words were soft, strange. Saf. Safe. And then she collapsed into his arms. Jack caught her before she hit the ground. Whoa, whoa, easy there. He looked around. No one. The dirt road was empty. No vehicles. No people. No signs of where she came from. He dragged her inside, locking the door behind him. Okay. What the hell is going on? He muttered, placing her gently on the bed. Her breathing was shaky. Her body trembled, and her skin gave off, a light warmth almost like a low fever. Jack ran to the sink, filled a cup with water, and brought it back. Drink, he said, helping her sit up. The alien girl looked at the cup, then at him, as if trying to figure out if it was a trap. Her hands were shaking when she took it, but she drank slowly. When she finished, she stared at him again like she wanted to say more, but her voice failed. Jack sat beside her. Who are you? What happened to you? The girl pointed to the window, then quickly pulled her hand back like she was afraid to be seen. She whispered again, this time clearer. They are coming. Jack's stomach tightened. Who's coming? She didn't answer. Instead, she reached inside her torn robe and pulled out a small, glowing object. It looked like a cube, but it hovered just a few inches off her palm. Strange symbols floated in the air above it. What is that? Jack asked. The girl placed it in his hand. The moment Jack touched it, the cube lit up. And suddenly, a 3D hologram appeared in the room. It was a map of the local star systems, but one planet blinked brighter than the rest. Earth. And then came a voice, artificial, cold, and mechanical. Target DNA match confirmed. Asset located. Jack dropped the cube. It fell to the floor and shut off. The girl's breathing grew faster. Hide. You must hide. Before Jack could respond, a loud hum filled the air. Outside, the ground trembled softly. Hoverbikes. 3 of them. They landed in the motel parking lot, silent but heavy. Jack peeked through the curtain. 3 armored soldiers in black exosuits stepped off. One of them scanned the area with a device. Another tapped the side of their helmet and said something in a language Jack couldn't understand, but he recognized the tone. They were hunting. They're looking for you, Jack whispered. The girl nodded weakly. Her lips quivered. Please. Don't give me to them. Jack hesitated. This wasn't his problem. He was a scrapper, not a fighter, not a hero. But then he looked at her, how broken she was, how scared, and something inside him shifted. Get in the closet, he said. The girl didn't move. Jack gently helped her up and guided her to the narrow storage closet beside the bed. She crouched inside, curling into the shadows. He closed the door softly. Knock, knock, knock. Jack took a deep breath and opened the front door. A soldier stared at him through a dark visor. "Sorry to disturb, citizen. We're looking for a fugitive." Jack played dumb. "Haven't seen anyone. Female. Possibly injured. Dangerous. Has something that doesn't belong to her." "Just me here," Jack said, stepping aside, to show the empty room. The soldier scanned the space, then nodded. "Thank you for your cooperation. Stay inside." They walked away. But Jack knew this wasn't over. He shut the door, locked it again, and leaned back against the wall. He looked at the closet door. What have I just gotten myself into? Hunted by the stars. The room was quiet again. Too quiet. Jack stood near the locked door, his heart pounding in his chest like a warning drum. Outside, the engines of the hoverbikes grew fainter. The soldiers weren't in a rush, and that meant something worse. They were watching. He turned to the closet. Slowly, carefully, he opened the door. She was still there, curled up, breathing softly, her silver skin now dimmed with fatigue. Her violet eyes opened when she saw him. "They're gone," Jack whispered, "for now." The alien girl didn't speak, but her gaze said everything. Fear, gratitude, and something else. Guilt. Jack helped her sit on the edge of the bed. She leaned into him like a leaf blown by wind. Despite everything, she was light. Almost too light, as if her body was losing strength. "You need food," he said. "Or medicine. Maybe both." He grabbed a protein bar from his bag and unwrapped it. She sniffed it but pulled away. "No. Not mine." Jack sighed. He opened his small travel stove and boiled water, mixing in some herbal powder he had traded. For in the last outpost, it wasn't alien cuisine, but it helped with pain. When he offered it, she accepted slowly, drinking with both hands. "My name's Jack," he said finally. "Jack Reynolds. I'm human. From Earth." The girl looked at him. Her voice, weak but clearer than before, whispered, "Lyrian. My name." He smiled. "Lyrian. Okay. Lyrian, what do they want from you?" She looked down. Then she reached into her robe again. The same cube. Jack flinched when she held it out, but this time she shook her head. "Not danger. Not to you." When he touched it, the cube lit up again, but now the map showed not just Earth but 10 other blinking systems. Red symbols circled around one name. The Blood Star Vault. "What is that?" he asked. Lyrian's voice trembled. "Ancient weapon, locked by humans long ago. Only your kind can open it. Only your blood." "Why?" She closed her eyes. "Because humans are not forgotten. They are forbidden." Those words hit Jack like a punch. "What do you mean?" Lyrian tried to speak, but her body shivered. Her skin turned pale, almost translucent. Jack quickly covered her with a blanket and helped her lie down. She was fading. Outside, the hoverbikes were gone, but a distant hum, deeper and slower, echoed from the sky. No way, Jack thought. He stepped outside cautiously. A black triangular shuttle had landed just beyond the dusty hill. More soldiers. Heavier armor. Jack could feel it. These weren't scouts. This was cleanup, and they were heading straight for the motel. Jack rushed inside. "Lyrian, we have to move." She opened her eyes barely. "Can't run. They track me. From the blood. The cube." Jack looked at the floating device in her hand. It was beautiful, dangerous, glowing, and a beacon. He grabbed his jacket, then stared at the cube. If they could track her through it. He took a deep breath and slammed it into the floor. The cube sparked, blinked, and went dark. Lyrian gasped. "No, that was our map." Jack's voice was calm but sharp. "They're already here. We don't need a map. We need to survive." He helped her stand. Her legs were weak, but she leaned on him. Together they made it to his old rover, parked behind the motel. It wasn't fast, but it could cross rough terrain, and Jack had modified it for quiet travel. As they drove into the hills, Jack looked at the sky. The shuttle was now airborne again. Following. "We need to hide. Any place you know?" he asked. Lyrian closed her eyes. "Cave. Near the cliffs. Old temple." He turned the rover sharply toward the east. The rocky terrain bounced them hard, but Jack didn't slow down. Behind them, a black dot appeared. In the sky. The shuttle was tracking. Suddenly, a blast shot from above. Boom, just behind the rover. "They're trying to disable the vehicle," Jack shouted. Another blast. Jack veered into a canyon, the rover sliding on loose rocks. They drove, for 10 more minutes until Lyrian pointed. There. An old temple, half buried in stone, stood hidden by broken columns. Strange symbols lined its surface. Old, glowing faintly, like the cube had before. Jack parked under an overhang. They climbed out and rushed inside. Inside the temple, the air was colder, quieter, almost sacred. Lyrian touched a wall and a panel slid open, revealing an underground chamber. Jack stared. "How did you know that was here?" Lyrian gave a weak smile. "Because my people once worshipped yours." He helped her down the stone steps. The room below glowed with blue light. In the center stood a large circular door, locked tight on its surface, a human handprint. Jack walked over and touched it. Nothing happened. Lyrian spoke behind him. "Not enough. You need to know who you are." He turned. "I'm just a junk hauler." Lyrian shook her head. "No, you're the one we were told to find." Suddenly, the door lit up. A soft chime echoed across the chamber. Outside, the shuttle landed. Footsteps echoed above. They had minutes, maybe less. Lyrian touched his hand. "You were never just a man looking for breakfast," she whispered. "You're the key to a war no one remembers. And now, they're coming to kill the key." The code in her blood. Jack stared at the glowing handprint. It pulsed slowly under his palm like a heartbeat waiting for something. Behind him, Lyrian leaned against the stone wall, her breath shallow, her silver skin flickering with a strange shimmer, like she was fading in and out of this world. "What do you mean I'm the key?" Jack asked, still holding his hand on the door. Lyrian's voice was low. "Your DNA, your blood carries the last marker of the ancient guardians. It was passed down, hidden for generations. Only someone with your code can unlock the vault." "Guardians?" Jack frowned. "What guardians?" Before Lyrian could answer, heavy boots echoed above. They were close. Jack glanced up at the stone ceiling. Dust fell with every step. Lyrian whispered, "They will kill you if they find you. And me. We must open the vault now." Jack pushed harder. The circle in the door flared. It scanned his hand, then sent out a beam of light that scanned his entire body. Up, down, slow and precise, a sharp tone sounded. Recognized. Partial sequence found. Initiating protocol. Guardian spark. The stone door cracked open with a loud clunk and slid to the side. Inside was a narrow hallway glowing with pale blue lights. It didn't look ancient. It looked alive. The walls pulsed like they were breathing. "Come on," Jack said, helping Lyrian to her feet. They stepped inside. The moment they passed the threshold, the door closed behind them. Outside, the sound of soldiers shouting and scanners beeping faded into silence. For a moment, there was peace. But Jack could feel the weight of the place pressing on him. They walked down the corridor until they reached a central chamber. In the middle stood a large pedestal with a floating crystal. No wires, no machines. It spun slowly, humming softly. Around the chamber, carvings of humans and aliens stood side by side. Jack's eyes widened. "This is impossible." Lyrian sat down, her energy nearly gone. "Not impossible. Forgotten." Jack moved closer to the crystal. The moment he did, it flared to life. A hologram burst into the air above it. A human, man in dark robes, with stars in his eyes and a calm voice. "If you are seeing this, the war never ended. We were the guardians. We made peace between stars. We sacrificed everything to stop the blood machines. But peace is fragile. So we hid the last weapon, the Bloodstar, and locked it with our code. Only a human born in peace, not war, could unlock it again. The hologram looked straight at Jack. If you are here, it means the machines have returned. Or worse, those who betrayed us have. The image faded. Jack stood still. I'm not ready for this, he whispered. Lyrian looked up. None of us were. Suddenly, alarms lit up along the chamber walls. A deep rumble shook the floor. They found another way in. Jack shouted. He ran to Lyrian and tried to lift her, but she was barely conscious. And then the pedestal opened. A long metallic arm reached out and scanned her. It paused, then spoke. Non-human life form, code match 72%. Hybrid strand detected, sequence unstable. Jack blinked. What does that mean? Lyrian coughed. I was modified to carry the old code, to find you, to bond with you, if needed. Bond, she nodded weakly. Your spark, my code, must connect, or the vault dies. The ground shook again. Parts of the ceiling above cracked. Jack hesitated. What do I have to do? Lyrian reached out, her hand trembling. Just trust me. Jack took her hand. A bright light burst between them, and for a second Jack felt like he was falling through stars. Memories not his own flashed in his mind. Battlefields, peace talks, old alien cities, a sky filled with twin suns, and a promise spoken long ago. When the darkness returns, a spark shall rise, through union of the forgotten and the faithful. When the light faded, Jack and Lyrian collapsed to the floor. His eyes were glowing. Hers were too. What was that? He asked, breathless. Lyrian smiled. The bond. Now we are linked. The vault pulsed. Doors opened around them, revealing armor, weapons, scrolls, and ancient data cores. Jack stepped forward, his body moving as if it remembered something his mind had forgotten. He picked up a strange metal bracelet. The moment he wore it, a shield formed around his left arm, made of energy and heat. They're coming, Lyrian whispered. Jack turned toward the door as it opened. Soldiers stormed in, rifles aimed. But this time Jack didn't hide. The shield on his arm flared. The soldiers fired. The blasts hit the shield and bounced off. Jack raised his free hand. Beams of pure light shot from the bracelet, knocking the soldiers back. Lyrian, still weak, smiled. You're not just a key anymore, Jack. You're a guardian reborn. Motel to mothership. The room smelled of heat and energy. The walls of the vault pulsed with a deep blue glow as if the ancient stone itself was breathing. Jack stood in the center, armor still forming over his chest, the energy shield on his arm slowly fading after deflecting the soldiers' attacks. The silence after the battle was strange, not peace, but a pause before something worse. Lyrian was still on the ground, her strength barely holding on. Jack rushed to her, kneeling beside her glowing form. Stay with me, he said softly. Her lips curved into a weak smile. You don't know what you've done? Yeah, I seem to do that a lot. Jack helped her sit up. Outside the vault, more troops would come. They had barely escaped the last group, and he knew the next wave would be heavier, stronger, and prepared. He glanced at the armor racks now unlocked around the chamber. Tech older than anything he'd ever seen. But it wasn't rusted or broken. It looked new, preserved, waiting for someone like him. Jack grabbed a second bracelet and placed it on Lyrian's wrist. The vault scanned her again, accepting her as a linked guardian. Thin energy lines connected, the two bracelets pulsing gently. Lyrian gasped as strength flowed into her limbs. How did you know? She asked. I didn't, Jack said. But we're in this together. The vault rumbled. A section of the back wall opened, revealing a spiral path leading downward. Jack helped Lyrian up, and they followed the path into a deeper level of the temple. What they found below froze Jack in place. A ship. Not a rover, not a shuttle. A real, full-sized alien vessel buried under the planet for who knows how long. Its hull was silver and black, covered in strange markings and old human writing. A symbol glowed at the front, 2 stars crossing behind a human eye. Lyrian's eyes widened. The mothership of the first Guardians. Jack's hand touched the outer hull. The ship responded instantly. The side hatch opened with a low hum, and warm air poured out like the breath of something ancient waking up. Inside, the ship was alive with soft lights and whispers of systems rebooting. The control panel lit up the moment Jack stepped inside. It scanned him again and spoke in a soft female voice. "Welcome home, Jack Reynolds." Guardian status confirmed. Captain's authority granted. Jack blinked. "Captain?" Lyrian stepped beside him. This ship was designed to respond only to a Guardian, and now, that's you. Jack looked around. This is more advanced than anything Earth has. Lyrian walked to a wall that displayed a galaxy-wide star map. She pointed to a red blinking zone. "That's where the Blood Star is, the weapon the Federation is trying to awaken. They think it will give them control." "And we're going there?" Lyrian nodded. "We have to stop them before they unleash it." "What happens if they do?" "Then the galaxy will burn." Jack sighed and looked back toward the ramp. He could still hear distant echoes of soldiers searching above. "We leave now," he said. "Strap in." Within minutes, the mothership rose from its hidden cradle, the rocks and debris falling away like dust. The ship blasted upward through the temple ruins, leaving behind fire and shaking ground. Outside, Federation soldiers fired blindly at the escaping vessel. But the ship's shields activated, protecting them from the energy blasts. Inside, Jack sat in the pilot's seat. Though he'd never flown anything this advanced, the controls responded to his thoughts. The ship felt alive, like it wanted to help him. "They're scrambling fighters," Lyrian warned. She had recovered enough to sit beside him, reading the ship's tactical systems. 10 ships incoming. Then let's see what this thing can do." Jack pushed forward. The mothership surged into the upper atmosphere, then darted into space, like a bullet made of stars. Behind them, Federation fighters gave chase, their lasers slicing through the dark. But the mothership was fast, too fast. Jack activated countermeasures, and the ship fired back. Small drones launched from hidden ports, surrounding the enemy ships in bursts of light and heat. 2 fighters exploded. 3 more turned back. Lyrian gripped the seat. "You're flying this like you've done it before." Jack smiled faintly. "Maybe I have, in another life." The moment they cleared the last planet's orbit, the stars opened in front of them. The ship displayed a blinking route straight to the Blood Star vault. Time was running out. "How long?" Jack asked. "Less than 2 days. And when we get there, we won't be alone," Lyrian said. Jack nodded. He looked down at his hands, then at Lyrian. "I was just a guy who wanted breakfast." Lyrian touched his hand. "And now, you carry the fate of 2 civilizations." The stars outside shifted. The mothership entered hyperspace, and somewhere far away in a cold, massive fortress, orbiting the Blood Star, a high-ranking Federation commander received a signal. "The human Guardian is alive, and he's coming." The truth about breakfast. Jack sat alone in the quiet mess hall of the ancient mothership, staring at a small silver tray in front of him. On it, the ship had prepared what looked like a meal: synth bread, protein cubes, and a steaming mug of something that smelled like spice and earth. He poked at the bread with his fork and chuckled to himself. "All I wanted was breakfast," he muttered. Lyrian stepped into the room behind him, her long white hair now tied back, her silver skin looking brighter and stronger than before. Her eyes still held mystery, but they also held something else now: trust. "You finally have it," she said softly. Jack looked up. "Took a galactic war, a hidden vault, and alien hunters for me to get it." She smiled faintly, walking over and sitting beside him. "This food? It's sacred," she said. "On my world, sharing a meal like this marks the beginning of a life bond." Jack raised an eyebrow. "You mean like a marriage ceremony?" "Not marriage," she said carefully. "Something older, deeper. When two people share this meal, they are no longer strangers. They are chosen by the stars. Jack leaned back in his seat, his expression shifting from amusement to thoughtfulness. You knew that, he said slowly. When you knocked on my motel door, when you refused to eat until now. Lyrian looked down at her hands. Yes, but I didn't expect to feel this. Feel what? Hope. Jack's smile faded. The silence between them was heavy, not uncomfortable, but full of meaning. Neither had the courage to speak. Then, the ship's lights dimmed. A warning. Lyrian stood instantly. We're approaching the Bloodstar system. Jack followed her to the bridge. As the ship exited hyperspace, they saw it. A massive, dying star burning red in the middle of a battlefield. Orbiting the star was a black structure the size of a small moon, shaped like a claw gripping fire. The Bloodstar Vault. Dozens of Federation warships floated around it. Jack could feel the tension through the view screen. It was a fleet built for one purpose, destruction. They got here first, Jack said. Lyrian nodded. And they've already begun the activation process. If they succeed, the Bloodstar will awaken. Jack glanced at her. What happens then? Lyrian's voice dropped. The star feeds on war. It creates weapons that consume minds and turn allies into enemies. It ends civilizations. Jack stared at the display. Then we end it before it wakes up. Just us? She asked. Jack didn't answer. Instead, he closed his eyes, reached into the bracelet on his wrist, and activated the mothership's core. Guardian Command online, the ship's voice said. Initiating relic signal beacon. Lyrian gasped. Jack, what are you doing? Calling for backup, he said. From the past, across distant systems, ancient beacons, long thought to be dead, lit up one by one. Old ships buried beneath planets, abandoned outposts, hidden relay points. All connected by the same Guardian code. Lyrian watched in awe. You're waking them up, the other relic ships. We can't fight alone, Jack said. And we won't. Suddenly a transmission flashed on the screen. A human face. Cold. Strict. Uniformed. This is Admiral Cyrex of the Federation. Unknown vessel. Identify yourself and prepare to be boarded. Jack leaned forward. This is Jack Reynolds, Guardian class. You have trespassed on ancient territory, and you are awakening a weapon designed to erase thought. Cyrex narrowed his eyes. You're bluffing. The Guardians are extinct. Jack raised his glowing arm. The shield hummed into view. Then how am I here? Cyrex's face twitched. For a moment he looked afraid. Open fire. The screen went dark. Within seconds, hundreds of Federation drones launched from the motherships toward Jack and Lyrian's. Ship. Jack turned to her. We hold them off. Long enough for the others to arrive. Lyrian touched the side panel and activated the defense grid. And if they don't? Jack stared at the Bloodstar Vault. Then I finish what they started, and destroy it myself. As the battle began, the mothership danced through space, weaving between blasts of energy and swarms of drones. Jack handled the controls with a calm focus as if he'd been flying all his life. But inside, his heart pounded. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about legacy. As the Federation's lead ship approached, a massive cannon charged up at its front, aimed at Jack's vessel. Brace for impact, Lyrian shouted. But before the cannon fired, the sky behind them lit up with dozens of blue flashes. Ships, old, powerful, forgotten, Guardian relics. They had answered the call. Jack's eyes widened. We're not alone anymore. The tide shifted. Guardian. Ships fired beams of pure light slicing through Federation lines. Explosions filled the blackness of space. The Bloodstar trembled, as if sensing the awakening of its old enemy. Lyrian leaned into Jack. You did it. Jack shook his head. No, we did. But deep within the Bloodstar Vault, something stirred. A voice. Ancient. Waiting. Guardian. You have returned. Now choose. Destroy me, or become me. Jack's jaw clenched. The real fight was just beginning. rebirth under alien skies. The stars outside burned with fire and fury. Federation warships clashed with the awakened relics of the Guardians, bright flashes lighting up the endless dark. But inside the ancient mothership, Jack stood in silence, his heart torn between rage and responsibility. Deep within the Bloodstar vault, a voice had spoken. Not from speakers, not from comms, but directly into his mind. Guardian, you have returned. Now choose, destroy me or become me. Jack gripped the console, his knuckles pale. The voice echoed like thunder in his skull, cold and hungry, offering power that didn't feel like his own. Lyrian saw his expression and placed a hand on his shoulder. What did it say to you? He turned to her, eyes distant. It wants me to merge with it, become part of its system, control it from inside. Control it, Lyrian whispered. Or be consumed by it. Jack didn't answer. Outside, a relic ship exploded, taking 2 Federation fighters with it. Even with the ancient ships on their side, the enemy was pushing harder, closer. The Bloodstar's pull was growing stronger. It was awake now. Not fully, but enough. If it finishes waking, Lyrian said, it will create an energy wave strong enough to burn 10 star systems. Everything will die, and the Federation wants that power. Jack looked up at the vault's red light on the display screen. It pulsed like a heart, his own heartbeat in sync with it, as if something inside him had already changed. We need to get inside, he said. Lyrian hesitated. Are you sure? No, but it's the only way. He turned to the ship's controls. Prep the Guardian. Pod, I'm going in. Lyrian blocked his way. You can't go alone. It's designed to reach into your memories, your fears. It'll tear you apart if you're not strong. Jack smiled faintly. Then come with me. Her breath caught. We're bonded now, right? He said. We face this together. The Guardian pod opened at the center of the ship, glowing with pale blue light. It was a chamber built for mental connection, half machine, half dream. Jack and Lyrian stepped in together, hands clasped and the door sealed behind them. Their minds were pulled through space and time. One moment they were in the pod, and the next, Jack stood in a white field under an alien sky. Red clouds drifted, slowly above. The ground shimmered with light, and across from him stood himself. But not just himself. This version wore full Guardian armor. His eyes glowed gold. He radiated power, pride, and pain. Who are you? Jack asked. The other Jack spoke. I'm who you were meant to be. The last Guardian. The one who left Earth to keep the Bloodstar sealed. I gave up everything, including my memory, so you could live a peaceful life. Jack's heart raced. You're me? I'm your past. You are my future. The cycle begins again. Lyrian appeared beside him now, dressed in ceremonial robes of her people, robes of light and wind. She looked around in awe. This is the Guardian Memory Core. The armored Jack pointed toward a gate of fire in the distance. That is the star's soul. If you pass through it, you can destroy it. But if you hesitate, it will take you. Suddenly, shadows burst from the ground, dark versions of Jack and Lyrian. Twisted, angry. Voices screaming doubts. You're just a hauler. You're not worthy. You failed everyone. You will die alone. Jack dropped to his knees. The shadows rushed in, but Lyrian grabbed his hand. Jack, she said firmly, you're not the past. You're not a mistake. You're our chance. Their bracelets glowed. Light burst around them. The shadows vanished. Jack stood up, stronger. His armor reshaped itself, half Guardian, half human. The past and the present united. Let's finish this. They stepped through the fire gate, in the real world. The mothership hovered closer to the Bloodstar vault. Enemy ships swarmed around it, but the Guardian fleet held the line. Inside the vault's core, Jack and Lyrian appeared on a floating platform before a sphere of pure red energy. The Bloodstar. It pulsed with power, screaming in every language. The walls around it were covered in bones, human, alien, Guardian, all who had failed. A voice whispered again. Become me. End the war. Rule them all. Jack stepped forward. No. The sphere flared. Bolts of red lightning struck toward him, but his shield absorbed it. Lyrian joined him, their hands locked. Together, they raised their arms, their bracelets connected. A beam of white energy shot from them, straight into the heart of the blood star. The red began to fade, slowly, painfully. The star shrieked. Outside, the vault began to shake. On the Federation flagship, Admiral Cyrex watched in horror as the blood star dimmed. Pull back. All ships retreat. But it was too late. The blood star exploded, silently, beautifully. A wave of light swept across the battlefield. Every Guardian ship absorbed the wave and transferred it into a beacon of peace. Federation ships powered down. Weapons failed. Engines stopped. But no one died. It was not death. It was rebirth. Jack opened his eyes back in the Guardian pod. Lyrian lay beside him, breathing. Alive. The ship's voice spoke softly. Blood star. Neutralized. Jack sat up. We did it, he whispered. Lyrian opened her eyes. No, you did it. He smiled. No. We did. The girl who knocked and never left. The stars were quiet now. No explosions, no sirens, no weapons firing through space. Only silence. A deep, endless silence that followed the fall of the blood star. Jack sat alone on the edge of the observation deck inside the Guardian mothership. In front of him, the wreckage of the battlefield drifted like broken memories. Federation warships floating powerless, and Guardian relics glowing calmly, holding position like silent protectors. It should have felt like victory, but Jack didn't feel like cheering. He stared at his hands that had once loaded junk into cargo holds, now glowing faintly with the light of the Guardians. Hands that had just destroyed something older than most galaxies. Behind him, the soft sound of footsteps. Lyrian. She walked quietly, dressed in new robes crafted by the ship itself. Symbols of her people merged with ancient human patterns. She stopped beside him, watching the stars. You didn't say anything after we woke up, she said gently. Jack didn't turn. I don't know what to say. You saved the galaxy. Yeah. He chuckled bitterly. And now I don't know what I'm supposed to be. Lyrian sat down next to him. You're not supposed to be anything, Jack. You chose to be what? No one else could. And because of that, people are alive. He looked at her. What about you? What happens now for you? Lyrian tilted her head. My people will want me to return, to lead. But I don't know if I belong there anymore. Because of me? She smiled. Because of us. They sat in silence again, side by side, the stars still glowing beyond the glass. Then Jack spoke, almost in a whisper. Do you remember the motel? Lyrian laughed softly. Yes. You thought I was there to kill you. I thought you were a waitress with very bad timing, and I thought you'd slam the door. Jack smiled. Instead, I gave you my breakfast, and I gave you my mission. He looked at her. You gave me more than that. Before she could answer, the ship chimed. A soft voice filled the room. Incoming transmission, Earth Central Command. Jack blinked. Earth? How? Signal boosted through Guardian network. They received the blood star collapse signature. Jack stood and walked to the command console. The screen flickered. Then, a woman in a clean white uniform appeared. Gray hair, sharp eyes, military badge on her chest. Jack Reynolds, she asked. Yes? You're going to have to explain a lot. Earth hasn't had contact with a Guardian-class signal in over 2 centuries, and now we receive a report from the edge of known space that you've, let me get this right, disarmed an ancient galactic weapon using emotional bonding and alien technology. Jack scratched his head. That sounds about right. The woman sighed. We're sending a diplomatic ship. We'd like to meet you, and your companion. Jack looked at Lyrian. She raised an eyebrow. You're not in trouble, the officer added. We're not here to arrest heroes, we're here to learn. The galaxy's changing again, and we need people who can walk between both worlds. Jack nodded. We'll be here. The screen went dark. Lyrian leaned against the wall. So, Earth wants to meet the girl who knocked on your door. They're going to have questions. So, do I? Jack turned. Yeah? After everything. What now, Jack Reynolds? He thought for a moment. Then walked toward the center console, tapped a few keys, and watched as a hologram of Zephyria 5, the dusty planet where this all started, appeared. In the air. I want to go back. Lyrian blinked. The motel? Yeah. Rebuild it. Maybe turn it into a hub for travelers. Not war, not secrets, just stories. Real ones. Lyrian tilted her head. You want peace, don't you? She smiled. Only if there's breakfast. He laughed, then added, and this time you're cooking. Lyrian stepped closer, her silver fingers brushing his cheek. You know, in my culture, when someone gives you their first meal, and shares battle, and chooses you over fate. Yeah? You don't just knock once, you stay. Jack looked at her, his smile fading into something deeper. Real, then stay. She leaned forward, their foreheads touched. No fireworks, no big music, just two people, once strangers, now. Bonded by choice, by war, and by hope. Weeks later, back on Zephyria 5, a sign was hung outside a new building where the old motel had once stood. The Guardian's Rest. Rooms, repairs, and breakfast. Human man stood at the counter, wiping mugs. Silver-skinned girl sat by the window reading star maps. Ships landed nearby. Wanderers came and went, and somewhere in the sky above a dormant mothership floated quietly, watching over them. Not as a weapon, not as a threat, but as a promise. Because sometimes, saving the galaxy doesn't start with a sword. Sometimes, it starts with a knock at the door.